Hi, everyone. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio, where our mantra to educate, enlighten, and entertain. Folks, I have a special guest with me today. All my guests are special, and I'm going to tell you the book is awesome. I will not give away this book because I have to keep referring to it. My guest with me today is awesome, phenomenal, and awesome. My guest is Dr. Jane Tornatore. She is a writer and author. She wrote the book, Everything is Perfect, Just Not Me, a roadmap for self-acceptance. Dr. Jane has a master's degree from the University of Illinois in Human Development and Family Studies and a PhD from the University of Minnesota in Family Social Science with added specialties in family therapy and teaching. She's been a therapist since 2005. She's also a speaker, and I highly recommend you Googling Dr. Jane Tornatore to see her in other interviews because Dr. Jane is amazing. I do have to add my disclaimer here before I forget. The views of the guests that represent those of the host of the station. Always consult your primary care doctor for any medical advice. And I want to welcome Dr. Jane Tornatore to Chatting with Betsy.
Thank you, Betsy. Your intro opened my heart. Thank you. It was just wonderful to hear. Thank you so much.
Oh, you are very welcome, and my pleasure. I like to research my guests before they come on, and I always learn from my guests when I research them. And your book, like I told you before I started to record, folks, I just want to tell the audience, I feel that Dr. Jane wrote this book for me. I needed to read this book, and I actually keep referring back to it. And I have to tell you, Dr. Jane, I love your book cover because it's very apropos, because A Roadmap for Self-Acceptance is the subtitle, and you have a picture of a road. And I love that. I love that. I always ask the authors, what motivated you to write this book?
Because, well, a bunch of things actually, but first and foremost, I'm a recovering perfectionist. Perfectionism is deep in my heart, and I've learned a lot of tools to self-soothe myself and to figure out how to, do this wacky perfectionist journey with a little more kindness and compassion. And I also, when I started to be a therapist, my whole goal was to have a full practice, private pay, so I don't have to deal with insurance, and then I'll be happy. Well, that happened, and I'm like, well, now what? Like, there's got to be more, right? So I thought, well, a book's a good way because not everybody can work with me, and I don't have space for a whole lot of people. But a book, anybody can read, and it's affordable, and it's the main things that I give every single one of my clients. I just include in the book, and it's helped me be a kinder person, and it's helped my clients be kinder to themselves. So there we go.
Well, I appreciate you writing this book, and I just want to tell the audience, folks, this book is very short, 50-something pages, but let me tell you what, it's powerful, very powerful. It was powerful for me. It helped me tremendously, and that's why I'm keeping it, and I'm going to keep reading it when I have my anxiety attack, or as I love what you say in your book, the committee in your head is telling you things. Can you talk about that, the committee in our heads? Because we all have it.
We do, don't we? Yeah, I got that phrase from a good friend and colleague of mine, Kristen Allett, who's a naturopath, and she was the first person to put it. Like, we all hear these mean things we say to ourselves, and she's like, we were talking about it, and she's like, I've got a whole committee. And I'm like, oh, you too? So the committee, I just use it for different things. Of, like, we all have different beliefs that we learn, different ways we learn to be, quote, good and valuable and loved and safe. And basically, a lot of these things we learned, how to put it? A lot of these things we learned were that our natural part of us is not okay because it's scary to people, or they're not comfortable, or they don't want to see it. Like we were talking earlier about grief. A lot of people are very uncomfortable with grief, right? So we learn to shut it down so we, don't make things uncomfortable, so people like us. And what happens is all those things we shut down through learned experiences, some conscious, some not, become like sublimated parts of ourselves that aren't allowed, and we can't show them. So these committee members are the parts of us that say, oh, no, don't do that. Remember, that's going to be bad. You're going to be hurt. Someone's not going to like you. You're going to get a negative comment. Oh. So these committee members are really just there trying to keep us safe, trying to keep us from being hurt again. The problem is they also shut us down, make us defended, and make us less kind of like a shell of who we are versus who we are in all our glorious human wonderfulness and messiness.
Yes, that's so true. I have to say, Dr. Jane, and I've said this on my show many times, I'm 65. I stepped into what I call my power at the age of 60. So it's never too late, folks. Never too late, because I was shut down and growing up. And, you didn't talk about your feelings in the 60s and 70s. And mental health was not talked about. It was something, right. If you were ashamed, if you were depressed, you didn't talk about it. And I'm always the rebel in my family. Always ahead of my time. And I'm not ashamed to say that I suffered with depression as a child. And when I was a teenager, I went to a social worker, and that was not cool back in 1974. Let me tell you, people, it was not cool to do. I was made fun of by my family, and ironically, yes, my sister used to call me all kinds of names, and ironically, Dr. Jane, my sister later on went for therapy.
Yay!
So, you know what? I always say, Dr. Jane, that we never know what life has to throw at us. So don't judge people who go for help. And I just wanted, because I'm so passionate about this, going for help is not a weakness, people. It's a strength to say, you know what, I can't handle my situation. I need help. And, I do this show to help people and help them have a better life, because we all think we're alone in how we feel, but we're not. Yep. We're not alone. And I can't thank you enough, really, for writing this book and coming on my show. I would love for you to talk about the words that we should not use. Because, excuse me, that helped me a lot. I actually had to reread that chapter yesterday, folks. Honestly, that's the truth, because I wasn't feeling well. I have all these books to read for my interviews, and I'm like, I got to read these books, and then I started getting an anxiety attack. I'm not going to have these books read. What am I going to do? And then I referred back to Dr. Jane's chapter and changing the words, and it helped me. So I'd like for you to talk about that, because I think it'll help other people.
I used to say that on my gravestone, this is what I want written. If I were queen of the world, I would ban the words should, must, have to, need, and gotta for Midwesterners. And here's why I do that. Because it's exactly what you just described. We all learn to use these, especially as perfectionists. We want to beat ourselves up into being better. And what I've discovered just through my own listening to myself is, hold on, my phone is ringing, it's distracting me. So what I learned from listening to myself is that when I say should, must, have to, need, and I spent half of my life in the Midwest, so gotta, I feel awful, like I increase my stress. So are you willing to do an experiment with me?
Sure.
Great. So let's bring it alive to your audience a little bit. So, like, you did a beautiful example of, I should read all these books. I got to read all these books. So say that in whatever form you usually say, and then close your eyes and notice how your body responds.
Yes, getting stressed.
Yeah, and where are you feeling the stress?
I usually feel in my chest.
In your chest, is it tight? Does it get a burning? What do you notice?
I start coughing.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, everybody has a different response to these words. I mean, there's some pretty common ones, like their gut gets all riled up, or the chest gets tight, or my brow gets furrowed. But so that's what that word does for you. Now say it'd be a good idea for me to read books for my interviews, and then close your eyes and notice what your body does.
Much more relaxing.
Isn't that interesting? Here's the wild thing about this. You said the same thing, only one way automatically makes us more stressed and feel like we're losers, like, oh, I should have done it already. What's wrong with me? And the other one is, yeah, that actually is true. That is a good idea. And so we have less resistance to the very thing we have on our list to do. So we're just lowering resistance right from the get-go.
Yes, that was so phenomenal when I reread that chapter last night, because last night I wanted to read a book for an upcoming interview, and I wasn't feeling well, so I can't read it right now, but I'm going to, it would be a good idea to read this book when I feel well. And that's what I said, not I have to. And I also noticed that my heart palpitates when I get anxiety.
Really? Well,
thinking, thinking, oh, I got to get this done. I like in your book, Dr. Jane, there's so many things I love about your book. I love the whole book. And you talk about, and I love the quotes that you have in each chapter too. Talk about being with your, feelings, okay? A lot of times we repress our feelings. Oh, I shouldn't feel this way. Oh, I can't be that way. We're so uncomfortable to really, some of us, to say, you know what, I'm in pain right now, or my heart hurts, or whatever the thing is that's going on in anyone's life. Why is it important to sit with our feelings and recognize it instead of stifle them?
Well, there's an amazing book on trauma called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. And it's a stunning book. It's actually quite stressful to read because he talks a lot about trauma. But one of the things we know is that when we don't express our feelings, they get stuck in our body. Like our body holds the memory of the repressed feelings. So one thing we know now is that feelings, if we don't interfere with them, if we just physically feel the sensation of the feeling in our body, it's done, or like our body's process is done within 90 seconds. So if we're triggered, if we're scared, if we're startled, if we don't either repress the feeling or feed the feeling, it's done in 90 seconds. Now, I've known this for years, Betsy. I still don't get feelings going through 90 seconds. I still resist them, or I still try to validate them and go, well, it's okay for me to feel this way. And so then I just keep prolonging the feeling. But I've gotten a lot faster. I love there's a woman named Tara Brock who has a beautiful image of us being the riverbed, like us ourselves being the riverbed, and our feelings being the river. And so many of us don't want to feel our feelings. And I still think this, to this day, I'm still like, I think this set's going to kill me. It's just going to annihilate me. I'm just going to get blown apart. Like, no, I'm 60 and I still have not been blown apart by my feelings. So chances are they're not now. But if we can be the observer, the holder of our grief, of our anger, of our fear, whatever it is, also including our happiness and joy, if we pay close attention, we often find that we stop those feelings too, because they can be really powerful and feel overwhelming. But if we just hold them, then they strengthen us. It's almost like they broaden us in our capacity to be with ourselves, and therefore we can be with other people in their grief or their fear or their sorrow or whatever it is they're feeling.
That's very true, Dr. Jane, and I have realized in my own life that when I felt sad and I was like, I don't want to feel sad, and the more I did resist it, it persisted. So then I learned, what? I feel sad. Let me just welcome the sadness and go on. Yeah. And I felt better.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Holidays.
It's completely counterintuitive to what we learned, isn't it, Betsy? Completely
counterintuitive. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Holidays I can't even talk, are tough for me. Very tough for me. Very difficult. And I'm sure it's for many, many people who have lost their loved ones. And Matt, my husband, died on New Year's Day, 2020.
Oh, my goodness.
So New Year's Day will never be the same for me. And, yes, as my mother likes to tell me, life goes on. Yes, it goes on. It's not the same, but it goes on. And why can't I recognize that pain every year or whenever I want to? And this is what I wanted to tell the audience, just recognize your feelings, and it's okay. And if you need to see a counselor or a therapist, that's okay too. Let people say whatever they want about you. Who cares? I'm done caring about what people say.
Right?
If
it doesn't fit with your value system.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, and I'm not ashamed to say this, matter of fact, I contacted a psychologist that I saw when Matt was going through the middle stage of Alzheimer's, and I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown back then. Yeah. And I called him up to see if he takes Medicare, because I really feel like I need to talk to someone more than I talk to a social worker twice a month. I feel like I need more. And I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm not ashamed to say, I need help with my post-traumatic. I need help with this.
Don't need help. And you don't need it because, it's a struggle, but you're moving forward. But it's so helpful to get help. It makes our lives easier. And why is that wrong? Like, why did we think it was wrong to get help? Like, I learned I have to do this all myself. I have to be with my feelings myself. I have to just buck up and just get through it yourself. You can figure it out. Well, no, I can, but I don't want to anymore. I like being kinder to myself. And it makes it so much easier.
Yes. Because we need someone who's objective, who can peel away the layers. And I'll tell you what, I recommend counseling for everyone. And especially, if you're a caregiver and you're going through a whole lot of turmoil and emotions and feeling unjustified guilt, you really need to speak to someone. It is so helpful for your mental health. And our mental health affects our physical health.
Absolutely. Yeah, the mind and body are connected. Absolutely. One of my first specialty was, I've been dealing with Alzheimer's since 1986. I think I first started studying it. And it is, I'll tell you, caregivers, I think out of any disease, Alzheimer's is the hardest. Probably because, or possibly because not only is the mind shifting and changing and dying, but people look fine. And it's so confusing for us when our loved one looks like they can think, and we spend our whole life with them thinking and being logical and we being able to have a discussion and convince each other stuff, and that's gone. So we've got such dissonance of, well, you look normal. Why can't you understand me? When their brain is literally dying.
Yes.
So it's like cancer, you're like, oh, man, sorry, you must feel awful. Alzheimer's, you can't tell, at least, before the later stages. So
Right, exactly. Yes, it is a very difficult, heartbreaking journey. And I'm very thankful that I survived and made it through, but I wouldn't have been able to if I didn't get help and if I didn't get talk to a therapist, if I wasn't in support groups online. I couldn't go in person. But I was, alone without support for a long time. And it's so important, to get that support. I also love the chapter in your book about gratitude. And being grateful. It's hard sometimes, folks, to be grateful. I know that. I realize that. It's very hard to be grateful when you're losing someone. I'll use myself as an example. But you know what? When we change, this is my own perspective, when we change how we look at things, our perspective, it changes. Yes, I am sad that Matt went through Alzheimer's. I am sad that he's gone. But I am so blessed because of Matt's journey. I had a show. I met Jeannie White, who's station manager, and she saw one of my videos and contacted me, and I was on her show first. I met so many wonderful people because of Matt's journey, and Matt's journey, his life, touched so many people, and I'm grateful for that. And so I'd like for you to talk about how we can work gratitude and why it's important to have that in our toolbox.
Gratitude. Gratitude is so powerful. There's something called the reticular activating system, RAC for short, and it's a part of our brain that takes our beliefs, whether conscious or unconscious, and it scans the environment for information that matches what we believe to be true, right? So if we're really depressed, our reticular activating system is naturally scanning for data which matches our depression. Like, oh my God, like I'm in Seattle. Oh my goodness, it's another gray day here, and it's only January. I've got months and months of this, right? We start to go down the line of thinking thoughts that reinforce our beliefs. When we and we're also naturally negatively biased. Like our brains are biased for negative thought. It takes a conscious effort to think more positive thoughts. Now, it's not to say you just should only think positive thoughts and the negative ones will go away. But what we're trying to do is create a little more balance in the brain so we also have a choice of, how do I want to think about this? Well, I can see the downside. I can also see the upside. So we have got a balance. This is not about my life can only be good, but, wow, my life is full of a whole lot of both, and I'm okay. So when we think gratitude, or, because I'm a perfectionist, Betsy, and I think I put in the books that, I would create my list, and then I'd be like, what? You put your cats again? Can't you come up with something new? Like, I would create my list. You should do something. Like, I would just do all the perfectionist things on my list. So I thought, okay, well, this is not working to get me to gratitude. But I inherently knew the importance of it, even before I learned all the brain science. And then I thought, okay, well, I'll just feel gratitude. So I would think of something that I was grateful for, like my cats. I would close my eyes, put my hand on my heart, and feel my gratitude and my love for my cats. And then I just do that for 20 seconds, 30 seconds every morning when I got up. Because the morning and the night are really powerful times to wire our brain. Because in the morning, we're kind of setting ourselves up for how our brain will fire during the day. And at night, there's a thing called Hebb's Law, neurons that fire together, wire together. So when we're thinking certain things, other neurons or other memories like that will kind of also fire. So we're creating neural pathways. So if you're thinking gratitude before you go to sleep and your mind's doing all its work to cycle and sift and sort and figure out where to put all the learnings you learned that day, if you've fired up gratitude before you go to sleep, gratitude is more likely going to be stored with your memories. So it not only makes us feel better, it also helps wire our brain for feeling better about what's happening in our life. It's kind of magic in a way. And when I first started my practice, I was like, okay, I will feel grateful. I was super depressed. I was just starting my practice. I had no money, and I was just like, why can't I get started? But I started my gratitude practice. And then about 2 weeks into it, I was doing it every morning. About 2 weeks into it, I spontaneously, felt gratitude. And I'm like, what? Where'd that come from? It just spontaneously came up in me. And that's what happens if we keep practicing gratitude, keep 20 or 30 seconds at a time. We start to myelinate gratitude neural pathways, and then it can spontaneously arise even at unexpected moments. So gratitude is one of the most powerful practices we can do. And this is not to say, oh, I just lost my husband, I have to feel grateful. It is. I lost my husband, we grieve. But one of the things someone told me a long time ago is they said, we only grieve as much as we loved. Our grief is our experiencing our love again. It's amazing that you had that much love for your husband that, you are fully grieving him and honoring him with your grief, really. That was a very long answer to your question, Betsy.
Yeah, that's okay. It's okay. I love it. Forgot to say in the opening, folks, and I want to make sure that I get this in. You not only have a private practice, but you have online coaching programs. So I'd like for you to tell the audience about what you have to offer, and if they can, from any state, be able to do a coaching program with you.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. I haven't done it for a couple years, but I just am running a program called Simple Self-Love for Overgivers, Overachievers, and Overdoers. I think I got the order wrong. But basically, I've created modules of a lot of the stuff that I teach my clients. And so people get 4 weeks of modules, and then we meet hourly if people want to also get the group part of it. Once a week for 5 weeks. So people can really dig into the material, make it their own. And what the most amazing thing is, Betsy, and I'm sure you experience this with your support groups, is people get to see I'm not alone. I'm not the only one with these struggles. I'm not the only one who has trouble loving myself. I'm not so it is honestly most of the comments I get about the group are, I love being with this group of women. I feel so supported and not alone. So it's powerful. I'm biased, of course, but I love it. And I'm running the next one starting February 15th. Right
February?
After Valentine's Day. Yeah. February 15th.
And which website would they go on to, Dr. Jane? Because I know in the back of your book you have 3 different websites.
Yeah, just to make it confusing. So if they go to everydaylove.me, on there I've got a little mini free course on trusting your intuition and how to build your intuition. If they sign up for that, then they'll not only get that free mini course, but they'll get on my Love Note list, and I'll be sending out announcements and invitations and information about my upcoming course. So that's the best way. Or if they just want to email me at hello@everyday.love, I can send them the information too. Whatever's easiest.
Excuse me. Oh, that sounds great. Yes, intuition. That's very important. I tell people, go by your gut instinct because it won't steer you wrong. I've always gone by my gut instinct, and they've always been correct.
Right? I know. It's pretty amazing. It's really amazing how there have been times when I didn't start listening to my intuition until I was literally at the end stage of my graduate career, and I thought, there's got to be more than this. There's got to be more than all this academic learning. And I can say, after 20 years, that sometimes I don't follow my intuition because I just don't want to, and sometimes it works out fine, and sometimes I'm like, I wish I would have listened to myself. But never have I regretted listening to my intuition, not once in 20 years. So I'm pretty convinced that it's a pretty good thing.
Yes. Excuse me. I definitely agree. Because I worked as a nurse, I always went by my gut instinct with the patient. And I was right. Sometimes people might not have thought I was not too bright, but it turned out that I was correct.
Right.
And I always, went by my instinct. And I love that you're so down to earth, Dr. Jane, and how you feel and what you've experienced. And you're a therapist, and yet as a therapist, you experience the same situations that non-therapists experience. So that's comforting to know. That might sound kind of weird, but
no,
it's great to know that.
It's absolutely true. And I will, full disclosure, it took me a long time to learn that was okay, because I thought, because I'm a perfectionist, I thought, well, I'm a therapist. I can't ever feel depressed. I can't ever be stressed. I certainly can't be anxious. All this stuff of I should just be able to not have fights and my life is happy and smooth because I'm a therapist. Well, no, I'm still human. And what I finally realized is, all the stuff that I've struggled with and learned about and developed and, researched, I mean, I know it works because it works on me, or at least I know it works on me, because I always vet everything before I share it with my clients. But it's part of what I think any good therapist uses their own pain, their own struggles to not only grow and have compassion, but we use that to share, to help our clients have it go a little more smoothly than our, independent, alone struggles, which is so much harder.
Yes, and I'll tell you, personally, I would rather go to a therapist who's so down to earth like you are and has experienced what most of us do experience, but, we don't want to say it. It's funny, last month I interviewed a psychologist, and I said, you have a great voice. I could sit in your classroom all day and listen to you. He said, thank you, Betsy. He goes, I don't like my voice. He goes, you have a nice voice. And I said, you don't like your voice? I said, I don't like my voice either. And he said, I don't think anyone likes their voice. And I was so glad that he shared that with me, as a psychologist, because that just shows that, we do feel the same way, whether we have degrees or not.
Yep. It's true. Degree makes no difference in how we feel. None. It's the real life experience and our ability to be with ourselves and our own self-compassion. That's what makes the difference.
Yes.
Yep.
Dr. Jane Tornatore, I so loved talking to you today. You are fabulous. And where can people purchase your book?
It's on Amazon. Everything is Perfect, Just Not Me. But if you sign up for my Love Note list, I believe, I need to check this again since I just recently created that intuitive decision-making course. I think you'll also get a free PDF of my book. So either go to Amazon, Everything is Perfect, Just Not Me, Jane Tornatore, because there's also a book that comes up, Everything is Perfect If You're a Liar. So don't get that one. I mean, you can if you want to. It's just not mine.
Thank you. And folks, I'm telling you, I just want to put it out there. I don't get any kickbacks, okay, when I recommend a book. I don't. Yeah. I really love this book. This book has helped me tremendously. I'm keeping it. I'm not giving it away. I've given away a lot of books because there's only so much I can have in my house. This book I am not giving away. I need to keep referring back to it to help me. And everything is perfect, just not me, a roadmap for self-acceptance by Dr. Jane Tornatore. And I highly recommend getting that book to help you, give it as gifts. It's going to make a great gift. And I am so glad that I have your book, Dr. Jane Tornatore, and thank you for writing it and what you do to help people and for coming on my show today. You are amazing.
Thank you so much. You just really, I'm on the West Coast, so it's early here. I'm like, you just started my day off with a bang. Thank you, Betsy. Yay!
You're welcome. Thank you. And you brightened my day. It's the afternoon here in New Jersey. A lot just talking to you. I can feel your energy and your passion. And I saw it when I watched you on other shows, and I just love it. I just love the person that you are. You really talk from your heart, and we could, I could tell that you are very passionate about your work, and I love people who are passionate about their work and helping others, because this is what Chatting with Betsy is about. And so thank you for all that you do. And folks, I want to thank you for, you're welcome. My pleasure, believe me. My pleasure indeed. Folks, I want to thank you for listening today. I have this show to help other people, to help people have a better life, to provide resources. And I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe. It's free on Amazon Music, Spotify, Spreaker, iHeart, and share it with your friends and tell your friends, because I want to help as many people as possible in my lifetime. And I want to honor Matt's legacy. And that's what the show's about. Not about me. It's about helping people. And I want to thank Jeannie White, who's station manager, who writes the blog and produces the show. All the information about Dr. Jane Tornatore and her course will be, the website will be in the blog, so please read the blog. And I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, who's CEO of Passion World Talk Radio, who makes this all possible. And folks, yes, I give stories about my experience because I want people to learn from my experiences. I want people to know that, hey, I'm going for help. I don't consider it a weakness. And I just want to encourage anyone who's listening, if you are struggling, and we all struggle at some point in our life, to please consult with your primary care physician. This show is heard all over, so wherever you live, consult with your primary care physician. And the National Suicide Hotline, prevention line, is 988. Reach out. There's help. And that's what I'm here for. And I just feel very passionate about that. We all struggle at some point. And for those who think that you're high and mighty and that you don't need help and that you judge other people, you don't know what life has in store for you. Don't judge other people when they go for help. Don't judge other people if they have to take an anti-anxiety or antidepressant. You don't know what your situation will be. And how would you like it if people judged you and made fun of you because you were going for help? And, yes, I'm on my soapbox because I cannot help it, because I am very passionate about mental health. I'm a huge mental health advocate, and that's how I feel. I'm not going to apologize for it. And if anyone's looking for a support group, you are a caregiver, know a caregiver, we're all going to be caregivers at one time or another, I have a support group on Facebook, #Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement. Everyone is welcome to join. And you could also follow me on my Facebook page, Betsy, Betsy, Wurzel, Wurzel. Check out my Facebook page. See what I do on my Facebook, you'll see pictures of Matt, you'll see pictures of my son Josh, and I'm a huge mental health and Alzheimer's advocate. I post a lot about both because those are two things that really are important to me and have touched my life. And as I always say at the end of the show, in a world where you can be anything, to please be kind, shine your light bright, don't be afraid to. And if we were all kind and shined our light bright, this would be a much happier and brighter world. And I always say that because I believe it's true. And this is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio. Chat with you soon. Bye-bye now.